I've been trading with Forex prop firms for many years. I passed my first prop firm challenge in 2021, got my first payout, but that firm unfortunately did shut down. But over the past few years now, I've traded with various different firms in the industry. I've tested out ones with different rules, ones with different payout procedures, trying to get experience with every single part of the industry so I can give you advice on what to do and what not to do with prop firms. So this is what I learned trading with prop firms in 2025 in one video. And we're going to start with a very simple point, but one that people neglect when they are choosing a firm to use. You need to do your proper research before you spend your hard-earned money on a prop firm challenge. Notably, firms that are relatively new in the industry. A firm that has been around 5 years plus, they have that solid reputation, and you're more likely going to have a better experience than a firm that's been around for 2 months or 3 months even. It's a very short time period, and it doesn't give them enough time to fully test whether they are a profitable company or not. And if you are putting your hard-earned money with a company like that, then you have to be open to the fact that they could shut down at any point and your money will be gone. And if you can't accept that, don't go with a firm that is relatively new. I've done it in the past. I've purchased challenges that are very, very cheap. I'm talking 20% of the cost of a normal challenge, the industry standard challenge. I go into that knowing that there is a high likelihood that I will never get a payout, but the risk versus the reward is massive. If I'm spending $100 on a 100k prop firm challenge, rather than spending $500 on a reputable firm, I have to make 5 times less to be break even. So if I make $500, I've made $400 profit, whereas I'd be break even on a more expensive challenge. So the risk is there, but the reward is also there too. And if you are someone who is risk adverse, this probably isn't the best route for you to go down, and you're better off using your money on a firm that is reputable, that you are safe with. But once again, we never truly know what's going to happen with any firm, and that has been quite apparent over the past few years. And a lot of firms that did have good reputations before this year have now gone a bit downhill, and they have been doing a few shady practices that I personally don't think is good for a lot of traders. And that is what I'm going to cover in the next point. You can no longer use high risk trading strategies or any sort of increased risk to pass the challenges. Many firms that I've used over the past few years have now been coming out and saying to people that you can only risk 1% maximum per position, and if you don't do that, you are blowing the account. And you're breaking their rules, you're trading with too much volatility, and your account is no longer valid. So any profits you made, no longer valid. And this is happening with many of the largest firms in the industry. So they obviously have the best reputations, they have the capital behind them, but they see people gaming the system in a way that loses them money. As a trader, the only concern that we have is making more from prop firms than we have actually paid for challenges. And that is the only thing that we should care about and the only thing that matters to us. So if we are able to game the system, so to speak, by risking more to pass challenges quicker, to be on the funder stage as quick as possible, and then get a payout, then we are going to do that. But now they are limiting it, so you have to have maximum 1% risk, or they max how much you can make on a single position even. Whereas if you look at my videos in the past, when I traded with prop firm challenges or funded accounts, I would enter a trade and I could pass a challenge in an hour or 2 hours, which meant that I could be onto the next stage or even onto the funded account within a day or two. So the amount of time I'm spending on a demo phase is this small compared to the opportunities then on a funded account when I'm actually making money, a percentage of the profits that I've actually earned. But if they're keeping you on the demo for as long as possible, then they're keeping you on an account where you don't get any of the profits. And as we know, this is their ultimate goal. They don't want us to make as much money as we can. They want to fail you as much as possible so they don't have to pay you any profits. The main downside to this limit in their risk is that they give you a daily drawdown and they give you a max drawdown. From a trader's perspective, if you don't want people to risk more than 1%, cap the daily drawdown. If I'm allowed to lose 5% in a day, I will use that 5% in a day. I can risk 4%, 3%, 4%, 4.5% even. And based on the rules, that is allowed. A lot of these firms, they don't have it in their set rules on their websites that you can't risk more than 1%. But if you do well, then they will say to you, oh, well, actually, we don't like the way you're trading, so we're not going to pay you. Or we're going to make it a rule on your account now that you can't risk more than 1%. Or perhaps they'll reset your balance back to the set balance you started with, basically disregarding any profits you've made. But what you'll also notice with the majority of these firms that are doing this, they won't do this if you lose by risking more. The same with news trading. If you make profits on a news trade, they will cut that trade. The profits will be gone from that trade with the majority of firms. But if you lose on a news trade and blow the account, oh no, it's completely fine. No, that account's now blown. You're not getting that reset. The same with risk. If you do really well, you make profits, you pass challenges with a slightly increase in your normal risk, or from a 1% standard risk that people call it, that's very bad according to the firms. Oh, you can't risk more than 1%. But if you lose money and blow the account risking more than 1%, oh, it's completely fine. So you have to be aware of what the firms are thinking when they see your trading. And it sounds annoying, but you have to adapt to please the firms. If you want to get paid, you have to adapt your trading style. The alternative solution is to go with a firm that doesn't limit risk, but usually no firm has everything perfect. So you'll have one thing, okay, I can risk more now. Oh, but I can't do this. Maybe there's a max lot size rule or a stop loss rule or something that hinders your normal trading experience again. So finding the perfect firm can be very, very difficult. You kind of want to have everything in one, but you kind of don't, but that isn't really an option. So you have to settle for, okay, this thing I can settle for it being a little bit stricter, but this is something that I'm adamant that I want. Perhaps that is risk. And you kind of have to compromise on what you are willing to accept and what you're not willing to accept. And that is how you pick the prop firm for you to use. And the next point, spending less doesn't mean you're getting a better deal. We kind of covered this in the first point, but what I see online is firms are offering stupid deals. If you think about it, if a normal prop firm account, $100,000 costs $500 for a firm, and they have people obviously buying those and trading those, failing and then passing and getting payouts. Let's say someone requests a $2,000 payout. This is 4 customers of sales. Obviously, they have expenses, they have staff and everything, but we're just going to do it just from the numbers. That is 4 sales. So now if they have a discount, let's say 80% off, some of these firms are actually offering, which I think is ludicrous. You can't operate at 80% discount all the time or 90% off. It just doesn't really work in my opinion. And we have seen in the past that a lot of these firms that do have these ongoing discounts never make it for the long term, and they will just be gone. The reason for this is, let's say you have a 100K account that instead of $500, you have an offer for a month that those accounts are now $100, or let's say $200 for this example. You now need 10 people to fail to cover that one payout. The payout hasn't changed in size. People are getting the same payouts. It's not like you're charging less, so people are going to get smaller payouts. People are buying more accounts because it's cheaper, and obviously they're going to fail more as a result. If it's cheaper, you're getting into the lower customer bracket of people who aren't really caring about what they can do with the account. But also you have to think about it. 4 people failing versus 10 people failing is a massive difference. That is a massive increase. So you have to get a lot more customers. You have to make sure people are failing. And also, because you have more customers, the likelihood of more payouts coming in is also higher. So by going with a firm that has these massive discounts, that has these massive offers, and it looks really, really good on paper, it probably isn't if you want to trade long term with this prop firm. Again, like I've said recently over the past few months in prop firm videos that I've talked about, you'll see my payouts have been quite small, because I've noticed a lot of traders on social media that are requesting larger payouts and singular payouts aren't getting paid. But people who are getting 2K here, 2K there, 3K here, over and over again, and it's scaling up, they are getting accepted, because it's not anything that rings the alarm bells of, oh, he's risking more, he had a lucky period, we need to find a way to stop his trading, we don't like his trading style. You're less likely to be rejected if you have multiple small payouts that add up. Whereas one big payout, it's going to flag on their systems, basically. I've had it before where I've had big payouts and it's been completely fine. but prop firms have changed. And 2025 is a lot different from when I had my big payouts in 2023, 2022. It has changed a lot since then. So the advice I've given back then isn't really the same as what I would give to someone trading with prop firms now. And it is just a numbers game. At the end of the day, your main goal with prop firms should not be to buy an account today and have that account in 1 year. That shouldn't be your goal. Your goal should be get as much money in payouts as humanly possible with many different firms, but also spending as little as possible. And if that way for you is by trading one account and keeping it for the long term, then that is great. But for the majority of people and the majority of traders in the industry that I know that do the best from prop firms, never keep the same account for more than 3 or 4 months, perhaps even less, because they're just cycling. Okay, pass, payout, pass, payout, pass, payout, pass, payout. And if they blow an account, it doesn't matter because they made profit. And the good thing about prop firms is you can build up that buffer. If I get a 10K payout, I've now got a 10K buffer, which is 20 100K challenges if I'm buying them at full price. So it gives me that buffer, and that allows me to go into future challenges with a buffer. So if I spend $2,000 to get the next 5K payout, it's okay because I still have 8K left of that buffer, which is now added on to 5K. So now we're back to 13K. So the buffer's increased even more. And this would only be possible if you don't spend more on challenges than you earn in profit splits. If it's the other way around, then you have a negative buffer and you just end up losing money long term. But trading, as anything else, is a numbers game. If you make more than you spend, you're going to be in for a good experience. If not a great experience. And also, I would always recommend people to trade with prop firms. They're a good way of making money, and you have to expect your money to be gone. Probably the best way to look at it. So you don't have any shock experiences if a firm you're trading with does reject your payout, or perhaps they do shut down. Expect that money is now evaporated and you're never going to see it again when you purchase a challenge. That's kind of the best way to look at it in my opinion. And also another thing before we end, expect to be interviewed and expect to have to explain your strategy when you request a payout. It's happening a lot recently with a lot of firms, a lot of the big firms. They want you to explain how you trade. They want you to explain what you're going to do with the money, your risk and everything. And they'll get you on a call, an interview to talk through your strategy, what you're doing, how you're doing it before they will decide if you can actually request your payout or not. So just a little heads up, if you are going to request a payout, that is likely to happen. It's not usually a red flag unless they have multiple for one payout, but I had it for a $1,500 payout. So I think that it just is random and not just for big payouts, but that is also something you have to consider. So that is what I've learned trading with prop firms in 2025. If you have any experiences that might help other prop firm traders, be sure to leave them down below and I'll catch you guys in the next one.